Next curve.
Hey everyone, this is Leonard Lee, Executive Analyst at Next Curve, and I am here in beautiful San Diego. It's a beautiful day here, right? And I am joined by Marta Karczewicz. Did I get that right?
Yes, you got it right.
And she is the Vice President of Technology at Qualcomm, and she is also a fellow. And I just want everyone to know she is the most humble trillionaire that you'll ever meet. Very, very humble. And we're going to try to get her to talk about her technology, her background, and some of the revolutionary things that she's been involved with and has enabled through her career. Are you going to be able to handle this?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, because last time we spoke, you were way, way too humble. You know, and
that's a good thing.
It is. And, you know, I think this is going to be a great story for you to share with the Next Curve audience because, you know, I mean, we talk about innovation all the time, right? And I think we overuse that term. And we also probably underappreciate invention. And yes, we have F-35s flying over as we're trying to do this, so you'll have to bear with us. But invention is also, I think, something that's probably underappreciated. Maybe not overused, but underappreciated. So, you know, I really wanted to talk to you about that, especially in the context of the research and the work that you've been doing at Qualcomm as it relates to compression technology, right?
Okay.
And so maybe talk about your background a little bit, your role at Qualcomm.
So yeah, I have been working on video compression or other forms of compression for close to 30 years now.
Wow.
Started originally around 95. I started in Nokia, been there for 10 years, then switched briefly to Microsoft, and now I think over 18 years at Qualcomm. Mm. And all this time, as I said, I have been working on mostly video compression.
Yep.
And when I was starting, it was a very, very fresh area. We had just one standardized video codec. Mm-hmm. And one codec in usage. So maybe I'll just tell briefly why do we even need this video codecs. I think everybody knows what video is. We keep watching it. We have, you know, broadcast. We have streaming. We have Zoom calls and so on. But what people sometimes do not realize that after we capture it by camera, it has to be compressed, otherwise this whole ecosystem just wouldn't work.
Right.
So just to give us some kind of, let's say, background, how big video without compression would be.
Yeah.
Let's think about what's becoming popular these days, which is 8K video.
Yeah.
Let's say 60 frames per second, though. That's now, I would say, underestimate because people want to watch sport in like 120 frames per second, 10 bit. If you want to send the raw data, that would be around over 30 gigabits per second. I would say probably almost nobody has that level of internet connection these days.
Yeah.
And let's remember that these numbers are being increased. So basically what the video codec is doing is grabbing this raw data and trying to reduce the size without reducing visual quality.
Yeah.
And these days video codecs compress video hundreds or even thousands of times before you get it on your end.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of have been devoting my life to. The codec from the times that I started, which I said the only codec on the market was MPEG-2. Evolved quite a bit. just to give some kind of comparison point, the codec that we are working now can compress the data that MPEG-2 was able to compress, because MPEG-2 is not able anymore to do everything that we are compressing these days. That's not going to happen. But if we take the content that MPEG-2 still could do and compare it with what we have now, we are using less than 15% of what MPEG needed to get the same visual quality.
Oh, yeah.
And on the top of everything, MPEG-2 couldn't do what we keep seeing now everywhere, which is this high dynamic range and wide color gamut. Couldn't exactly do what we are using in Teams, which is compressing graphics and text. I mean, it could do it, but the bitrate would probably explode. You might as well not compress it at all. I kind of would like to think that I at least partially contributed to, you know, this
Too modest.
improvement. So I have been working personally on all the generation of the codecs after MPEG-2, AVC, HEVC, VVC, and now the new codec that we are starting, which we hopefully will be H.267. I also have quite a few patents in this area, but you know, if last time that I checked, which was I think sometime over a year ago, I think I had over 800 granted patents in US and 250 in Europe.
Wow, did you hear that? That's pretty amazing.
And I've been actually probably mainly recognized actually for the patents. I have been one of the 3 nominees of Lifetime Achievement Award by European Patent Office in 2019. And I have some IP awards also from Qualcomm, one of the 3 recipients in 2012, and so on and so forth. This is like the patents, and I would say this is like the side product of my work.
Sure.
So that's roughly what I do and who I am.
Yeah, well, you know, so they call you the patent billionaire, right? And I actually consider you more of a trillionaire, because I'll tell you why. I think I might have been one of the first consumers to buy one of those DV camcorders. I don't know if I mean, you know what those are.
Yes.
Right, back in the day, and you know, when I transferred the mini DV, 1 hour of mini DV footage into a digital format, of course, this is 480p resolution. It took up 25 gigs of storage. And so, you know, if we look at the technology that you've helped to develop and continue to do research in, has had on just everything that's digital. Because, I mean, keep in mind, mobile wireless traffic, 70% of it is video, like you're saying. Media, I mean, think about outside of that, internet traffic, probably the same order of 70% is, if not more, is probably all video, right? And so imagine a world where we were still at 480p with the, you know, video quality at 25 gigs. We would not have what we have today in terms of the quality of video and media experiences, right? Like you mentioned,
I mean, what you are saying with the resolution, why would anybody buy 80-inch TV if you if you have barely any pixels? So you see big blocks of identical color. I was like, what's the point?
Right. And then now, you know, going into the future, as we look at higher resolutions, new innovative media formats, you know, I can only imagine you have vision on what that looks like, right? And you know, again, like you mentioned the experience. These are the higher level experiences, higher quality experiences that we've been able to achieve through a smaller data footprint. And that has enabled so many things, whether it's broadcast, whether it's streaming, all these different modalities and ways of transmitting, distributing, and storing even, right?
I would
I
say,
can
yeah.
imagine.
I think, it's like, because I mentioned, use the word what MPEG-2 still could do. And when you look how the video evolved, it's not that we can, compress what MPEG could compress, like almost 10 times better, but it's also that we enable a lot of things that MPEG could not do. Like I mentioned that you go to any shop and TV likely is advertising high dynamic range, wide color gamut, And it's true. I mean, it made a big difference in the watching experience. I can just briefly mention what do I mean. Like the older video, like the maximum brightness that we see was like around 100 nits. What we usually see as humans can go up to 10,000. Current TVs are being advertised at 2 or even 3,000 nits. So basically already the brightness that you see, which can be captured and displayed, is much, much higher. Contrast ratio, that's another thing that, before we maybe were able to compress something that was altered for like 2 to 10. These days, that much goes much higher, and what humans can do is like maybe 2 to power of 20 levels of contrast. And we have AMOLED displays, better cameras, so we can show it. Color reproduction also at the time was rather very far from what we can do now, because they are addressing this wider color gamut. So it's a couple of times better now. Basically the colors that we can reproduce. And the codecs, especially starting from HEVC, were able to address it. So we can compress these formats. We also can compress things that became important while the usage of video was evolving. Like, for example, during coronavirus, almost everybody switched to, let's say, online experience. And that included work and the Zoom call and team calls with sharing the slides, spreadsheet, or even, I'm still programming, so even showing like the source code via video.
Really?
That became became part of the normal experience. And past codecs did not really assume that you will compress anything but the natural content. And the newer codecs like HEVC Annex and VenVVC can do that. So basically, and they can do it twice better than the past codec, even if you look at all other tools. So we have the evolution, and what I see at least the evolution slowly going is, again, enabling more formats because they become more widely used. One of the examples is gaming. Let's start from entertainment actually still, because what people do not often realize that all these multiple services that pop up with online gaming are using the codecs, actually video codecs. So basically GPU produces the content, a codecs grabs it, sends it to the end user. When you react to it, the reaction goes back, and then basically so on and so forth. So one of the trends that we see now is the question, how do you use the GPU information to do better encoding? Because what we, for example, deal with in normal codecs is, like if you think about video, it's really just collection of still images. And a lot of redundancy is that from one image to the other, they are mostly similar. There's just motion of some objects. But it's not that easy to estimate. While when you have GPU, you can get information per pixel, how every pixel moves. So, okay, what new technologies can you do to do it? Another thing which is now very hot and also somewhat relies on video, or maybe more than people even imagine, is everybody talks about AI and video coding for machines,
Yeah.
which basically means that we have all these cameras. We have cameras, not only like security cameras, but there are cameras in factories, warehouses, wherever something can happen and some intervention might be needed. So, okay, some of this content can be analyzed directly in camera, but usually it's actually being sent to the edge.
Yeah.
There it's being analyzed by AI on the servers. And how it's being sent as video. So basically now what we were kind of looking more and more is that what we perceive as important as humans when watching, it's not that important for AI very often. So basically, how do we change compression to make it better for AI?
Beyond that, what's that one other thing that really has you excited, that you're really looking forward to, that you think compression technology is going to have a revolutionary impact on?
I have one thing that is exciting to me from the technical point of view, which is usage of AI in codecs. Not only that it's being, later used by AI, but how to introduce neural networks into video codecs.
Oh, okay.
That's already starting in the standards that we are working. That's already being tested. It's probably going to evolve at some point that the whole codec might be neural network based.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen overnight, to be honest, since the main issue is the complexity. I mean, the codecs are designed that encoder can be very complex.
Right.
But the decoder has to be very lightweight because it's running on, for example, mobile device, and you don't want it to kill your battery in 1 hour or less. Neural network are more symmetric in their design, so we'll have to figure out what to do with it. But they open new opportunities. I see mainly like two. I mentioned this video coding for machines, that the quality measure will have to change. Normal codecs, let's say, have very fixed design. If you wanna change the way that you measure quality, you have to redo the whole encoder, parts of the decoder, very complex. With neural network, actually, you can just retrain the weights of the codec for a different quality measure. So that would make it, let's say, much more user-friendly when you change the scenario where codec is used. And the other thing is there that we have been experimenting literally for years. How do we compress texture? Because if you look, for example, around, you have tons of trees, right?
Yeah.
The same if you look at, water, everything that has texture, the codecs didn't really progress that much how to compress it because it's random. It's very difficult to find like what type of prediction you should use. It seems almost like as a noise. Neural networks, they wouldn't compress it exactly, but you basically can tell them, don't compress it exactly, but mimic the statistic of this texture, mimic the statistic of this noise. And then when it does it, I would say, perfectly. You can get, almost 10 times lower bit rate than you get for the normal codecs. And yes, if you, do the difference, the difference will be big between the original and the current image. But when you look at it, you can't tell. It looks fantastically natural.
So is it like a smoothing effect? Or?
It's not smoothing. It just has a different error measure. It's just like, these are statistical properties and these are the statistical properties. Try to match them. Neural network will do it. So, because normal codecs, you are right, short of like this graphic content, they rely on assumption that, the content is smooth with some
Yeah.
edges in between.
Right.
And the motion is fairly
Yeah.
predictable. While again, like I'm looking at the tree in front of me, it's very textured and the motion
Yeah.
is all over the place because the leaves are moving which other way. So
Okay.
that's one thing that I would say excites me. And then other thing which becomes, that might be a bit more longer term, is the immersive video.
Okay.
So we are kind of used to just watching 2D video. There was some excitement about 3D video, which kind of came back a bit, but it's, I would say, I don't want to call it a fake 3D video, but kind of it is, because what we usually actually do, we just capture videos from two different viewpoints.
Stereoscopic,
Yeah, so
right?
it's a stereoscopic video, and it kind of looks 3D, but for example, like when we move our head, we see that objects move versus each other.
Yeah. Right.
When we watch these 3D videos, nothing is moving.
Yeah.
So basically, I was like, it kind of looks 3D when I don't move, but when I move, it starts to look fake.
It's more like the volume. It's missing the volumetric aspect.
So
right?
basically, we are working on multiple formats to be able to support actually what you called volumetric video.
Yeah.
So that it will not only allow you, like, to some extent, it's just to allow more realistic 3D experience, but there are also attempts to make it truly immersive.
Yeah.
Not maybe for everything, but for example, when you look at sports, already most of the events are captured by cameras surrounding the stadium.
Yeah.
And what we sometimes even watch on our TV, it's not even a real video. It's a video produced by building a 3D model and capturing it like, let's say, a view that you cannot see or camera doesn't capture, but you can recreate it by capturing how this 3D model would look from this or that point of view. So now the question is, if we can already kind of do that, can we send this information to the, you know, end user, and then they can do replays being this, for example, receiver or being quarterback or whichever they want to be.
Yeah.
So basically, but that I see still as a longer term evolution. Because that requires also, I think, evolution of the capture is maybe in to some extent there, but it requires evolution of the display. Now, to some extent, you probably can already do it with XR. But that still will take time before I think it will be, you know, that popular or that broadly used, that production of such content will kind of make sense from the cost point of view. So I would say it's like enhance and immersive. That's what really excites me at the moment.
Well, you know what really excites me? That I learned so much just in this short conversation. And I love that you told me that I was wrong. See, I got schooled on my own podcast. It's like so wonderful. But you know, I mean, I'm talking to a $1 trillion inventor here that is just there's so many patents. It's like, but no, you know, one of the key takeaways I've had, you know, I've already spoken to you about your background and many of the technologies that you're working on, have worked on in the past, and I continually am impressed by the impact. It's not like hypothetical impact. It's like real impact that's had just an immense halo effect, and is also, now that we've spoken again, really that foundational technology that enables experiences to continue to evolve and advance. And without that, I mean, we're stuck, right? And then the innovation across whether it's streaming, broadcast, or like what you mentioned, capture and consumption, all that stuff just stand still. And you know what? I think we need to talk more often, because this is people think of when people think of Qualcomm, they think of Snapdragon now. They used to think of it from Qualcomm from a wireless 5G perspective, but then there's this other thing that Qualcomm is doing through the work that you're doing that is really another one of those foundational pillars, right? So that's the other thing that I think we're sharing with the Next Curve audience that they might not know. I mean, I don't think a lot of people know that you guys do this.
Codecs that we talked about are implemented on Snapdragon. And
oh yeah, but they don't know that. Come
on. Okay, we have to educate.
The consumer doesn't know. A lot of people don't know about this stuff. You know, they just see a bunch of acronyms in the spec, technical spec sheet, and then, But no, I really appreciate your taking the time out of your busy day, and suffering. The F-35s flying over. And by the way, speaking of compression, a turbofan engine uses compression. It compresses air. That's what makes all these fighter planes go supersonic. Just like what she's doing. She's doing compression. That makes our videos go super visual?
Yes,
supersonic?
but you can also think about it that way, that latest Top Gun movie wouldn't be as cool without the codecs that we make.
Oh my God. Wow, she is good. She is good. Well, Marta, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time and the education, quite honestly. And I hope that we can continue the conversation every single time. I'm serious. Every single time I sit down and talk to you, light bulbs go off in my head, because I do broad TMT, like technology, media, and telecom research. And so as you were speaking, it was just I saw the future. I saw the future, and it's absolutely wonderful. So once again, thank you. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this discussion, and hopefully you learned as much as I did about this wonderful individual who is the most humble revolutionary, a disruptor. I could even call her a disruptor. She deserves that title, disruptor, and of course in all the positive and wonderful ways. Follow us on Next Curve, www.next-curve.com, and remember to follow, like, share the content on our YouTube channel, and we will see you next time. And once again, Marta, thank you so much.